has a dream but feels stuck, if you are facing obstacles that seem overwhelming, or if you just need a dose of motivation to keep pushing forward, then you are in the right place. So buckle up, dreamers. Anchor Your Dreams is not just a podcast. It's a community of dreamers supporting dreamers, women supporting women. Subscribe, follow along, and let's navigate the seas of ambition together. Thank you for joining me on this adventure. Get ready to be inspired, motivated, and empowered. The journey begins now. Today on the Anchor Your Dreams podcast, we are with Brittany, and she is a real estate agent in Michigan. Thank you, Brittany, so much for being on the podcast today.
Thanks for having me.
Before we get into sort of what your experience is, could you share some of your background and your journey on what got you to being a real estate agent?
So I went to school for marketing, but when I graduated, it was back when the economy was really bad. So I kind of like bounced around to try to figure out what I wanted to do. And then when I got pregnant with my son, my mom was a real estate agent for maybe 6 years before that. And she was like, I think you should get your license. That way you can have flexibility when the baby's here. So I ended up getting my license. I was kind of resistant to it, but so then I started working with her 11 years ago, just for like the flexibility with the kids. And yeah, I've been doing that ever since. And but I feel like I've really shifted a lot more in the past like 3 years, definitely in the past like year and a half. I've really catapulted far with that. So now the kids are in school, so it gives me a lot more time to focus on that.
For sure. It's really interesting as mothers. I mean, we really do look for careers that give us flexibility with our kids. And then there's stages and phases of their life that we tend to want to be all involved in, and then we might step back a little. But then I feel like with my oldest, she is at an age where I know that the independence is just like right around the corner. And there's this part of me that's like, oh, I need to have even more flexibility so I can be here and there for her, even though she's trying to be more independent.
Right. For sure. No, it is nice. It's nice the flexibility to be able to get a lot of it done during the day when they're at school. And then as long as I have it, because my job is very last minute, as long as I have whatever I need to do, like baseball games or whatever it is with the kids, in my calendar, I can sometimes work things around that because I am working, nights, weekends, everything. So as long as I have it in there, I can usually work around it for the most part.
Yeah, well, I can relate to that. My background is actually in the legal side of real estate.
Okay.
So I'm a legal assistant, and I started, oh my gosh, so many years ago working for lawyers, and I was the one responsible for drafting all the paperwork. Of course, I'm in Canada. It's a little bit different here, but for the most part, I was responsible for drafting all the paperwork before the lawyer sat down with the client and signed their life away on all the real estate documents to transfer
just what real
title.
estate agents want to get into, all the legal things, right?
Yeah, but it's funny. There's always been something about real estate for me. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was from when I was a kid and I would watch shows on TV about real estate, either the decorating side of it, the investing side of it, the remodeling side of it. There was just always something that attracted me to real estate.
Mm-hmm.
But when I went to school, to be a legal assistant, I didn't want anything to do with real estate. I wanted to be in criminal defense. And then there was no jobs in my local little town in that side of it. And we need what we call a conveyancer here. And I was like, okay, that sounds really boring. And I started and I never looked back. It's so fast paced. And one of the things that you talked about is that you're working all the time, like in the evenings, on the weekends. And that was the same for me as well. As even though I worked in a law office, I was working sometimes 14-hour days if a deal needed to get done. And like you said, it's all very last minute. And I find, and you've been doing this, you said about 11 years, but you have familiarity because your mom was doing it. Have you noticed a shift in the demand as far as on your personal time as a real estate agent over the years? Have you noticed it increasing because people want things
now.
so fast.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I do think that I mean, the market is oversaturated with agents. There's a million agents everywhere. And I do think it's a lot more competitive now because you have social media marketing. So a lot of agents are really marketing a lot more than others. So somebody can, at the drop of a hat, see a house if they want. They can call 100 agents, someone's going to do it. So the demand is definitely higher now because if somebody wants to get in, you have to drop everything and take them if you want their business. So that's huge, but also just with how fast the market's been moving. Like when you have multiple offers, like especially in the spring, you can't wait until it works into your schedule because the house will be gone. It doesn't matter what the client wants to do or what works with your schedule, the house will be gone. So you have those two things that are definitely really demanding to work with. So I don't know. I think both of those are huge. And just a lot of people think also, since there are so many real estate shows, they think they know how it works on their own way. So sometimes they kind of can get in the way of that because they're like, well, I watched this, so I could just do it that way. And it's like, that doesn't work here. You know what I'm saying?
For sure, for sure. Could only imagine the misconceptions that people have in real estate in the industry because of a lot of the shows. And my latest guilty pleasure is Selling Sunset on Netflix. That's
Everybody
definitely
asks if I
one.
watch that, and I feel bad that I don't. I don't watch it, but I think it's
Oh,
honestly, I don't even really watch TV anymore because I'm
yeah.
dead by the end of the day. You know, because most of the time by when the kids go to bed at 9, then I get my laptop out and I finish working because I had to pause what I was doing when they got home and get them to football and get them done with the homework and whatever. So I lost 3 hours of work time. So then I have to get back to work, and it's like the last thing I want to do at the end of the day is like look at more houses.
And I think that's fair. I think that's got to be pretty normal for someone
Mhm.
in their own industry to not be spending their valuable time off on
Right.
something like that. I'm
Yeah.
sure
I mean, I heard
that's
it's good
pretty normal.
drama, so maybe I should start, but yeah, I just
Well,
haven't had time to even sit down and watch anything.
and that's the interesting thing. Like I'm not for the drama, and that's the thing. My guilty pleasure is more about just like the really fancy houses, and I
Yes.
really like the architecture, to be honest. And there
Yeah.
isn't as many shows. Well, I don't have cable. I just stream Netflix. So I just get whatever Netflix puts out there, and it just happens to be Selling Sunset. So
Yeah, there's a lot of things on like Instagram and social media though that you can see from that. I know I follow a lot of pages of like luxury listings that are probably very comparable to that are just crazy. But I'm not watching a full episode.
yeah,
One day.
yeah. Yeah. So, one of the things about your journey has been the realization that if you don't build the life that you want, like there is no one that's going to save you. So, can
Mhm.
you talk to me a little bit about that? What was the sort of defining moment or aha moment that you had, if you did have one that brought you to that realization?
So I got divorced about 5 years ago, and that was really obviously a challenging time in my life. At the time, my ex-husband he owned a restaurant. It was a fast food restaurant, and my name was also on the LLC, but I didn't really know how to run it. I was doing real estate, and the kids were really little, so when we started getting divorced, he really stepped aside. He just stepped aside from that and said, I'm not going in anymore. So I had to take that over, which was really hard because I had no idea what I was doing and I had no time to do it. And it had been like failing for so long, which I didn't know. It was like bleeding money out for a year. We'd only had it about a year, but I thought it was doing good. So I had no idea that it was like bleeding out. But because it was a corporate franchise, there's so many regulations that I was just being fined like every day for not having. And it was like, I'm trying to work so I can pay for the kids, pay for my house, pay for my bills, pay for my attorney, do all this other stuff. But every minute of my day was focused into trying to get less fines for this business. So that was really hard. I had like basically two employees that were constantly in trouble. It was like just never ending. And then COVID hit. So that was another challenging element that was added. And then it drug everything out for like 2 years, even including the divorce and the court settlement, everything like that. That in itself, these were all going on at the same time. So I had corporate ready to just destroy me. The business was failing. All of my employees were like in jail every other weekend. I'm like trying to get my kids to do everything. I'm by myself. I'm trying to pay for everything. I'm trying to somehow, make real estate sales so I can pay for everything. And also going to court, which was actually the hardest element of all of it. Like the business didn't matter. That was way worse just because there was so much more involved in it and it was so messy. And my attorney was like, I mean, I gave him the easiest case ever. I was like always super involved. I took my kids with me to work since day one. Like I was always with them. There was nothing I didn't know. Like I was so covered on all bases for them. So when I gave him the case, I'm like, okay, this should be really easy for you. And I mean, it kept dragging on and on. And I'm like, are you going to do something? Like, I'm paying you all this money to get me out of this situation so I can breathe. And it turns out after everything was settled, I found out that he was actually being debarred for having a DUI and sexually assaulting his clients while he was representing me. So going into the courtroom with a slam dunk doesn't look so good when you're being humiliated by your attorney that you hired. And I had no idea. So instead of him winning for me, he was like texting me that I looked hot in court. And then I realized that he was actually being debarred. And the reason that he never would fight for me or do his job was because he was on such thin ice and like ended up going to jail, which of course I didn't find this out till afterwards. So I was like, okay, corporate's not helping me. My attorney's not helping me. I've been taken advantage of by everybody under the sun. If I don't get where I want to be, like nobody is going to get me there. It doesn't matter if I pay someone to get there. It doesn't matter what somebody tells me they're going to do for me. None of that matters anymore. So it was like 2 years of like decompressing all of that trauma that I was just like, everything is 100% on me. And honestly, I don't even want to trust somebody else to do it because I just don't. And I'm also like, nobody works harder than me. I mean, I got through that and that was a freaking disaster. So I'm like, I don't even want to trust that if somebody does tell me like they're going to get me from point A to point B, I don't even believe that they're going to do it. So it just, which is sad, but I mean, it just came to a realization of whatever I want from my life, I have to get myself there because I cannot rely on anybody else to do it or make sure that it's a priority to somebody else, if that makes sense.
Oh, totally. In some aspects, I think that women are taught that we have to do everything ourselves from day
Mhm.
one, but it's the sort of moments like you just explained where it shows that it validates that for us. And although it's a bit of a trauma response to not trust anyone because of what happened, it still is validated by the
It's
fact that you,
reality. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So you went through all of this and you sort of had that idea that, or validation that you needed to do everything for yourself and everything. So how did you start picking up the pieces and open new doors? How did that happen for you?
Well, I had to close the business, which sucked, but I mean, I was just carrying a dead body around forever. I was like, I just need to bury this because I can't, it's holding me back from everything that I could do because it's so time consuming and just terrible. And it was one problem after the next. We like got robbed at gunpoint. I had people destroy. It was so bad. I can't even like tell you like this. It would take me 2 hours to explain the whole thing, but it was just a never ending nightmare. And once I ended up closing that. And I think I realized, well, I mean, also life has just gotten so expensive also. Cause like, I mean, I've been consistently working with real estate for 11 years. I've been doing really well. I work with my mom, like we're a team and we've been, we've never had a bad year. So that's been fine. But the cost of living has gone up so much too that it's okay. I had to pay for insurance. I had to pay for my kids' sports, which like travel baseball is like $4,000. So I'm like, what I have been making is not going to work if I want this type of lifestyle. So that's when I realized, all right, this is on me. So how am I going to get from here to here? And I'm going to start one step at a time with just learning how to really educate myself on how to grow my business and financially set myself up and definitely a lot with the mindset stuff because doing all of that is like not a normal thought. Taking yourself from where you are to a totally uncomfortable position that you don't even feel like you know what you're doing is not something you can just be like, all right, tomorrow I'm going to get up and I'm going to do that. Like you have to totally retrain your thought process, which is a lot. But that's been huge for me.
Yeah, if only we could just have these mind, these thoughts at the end of our days, manifest all the stuff, go to sleep thinking about everything, listen
Yeah,
to subliminal messaging through our ears, and then wake up and just carry on and have everything we want.
right.
Clearly, that is not reality. So,
Hmm.
what were your first steps once you started realizing that it is a mindset shift? And once you started realizing that action needs to happen, what were the first few months like when you started doing that and changing your mindset?
A lot of them were just learning. Like I spent all my time learning how to get there because a lot of growing my business is social media marketing. And that was one thing that I'm like, oh, I'm so cringe. I cannot. Like, I don't want to do that. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I don't mind other people's videos, but I don't want to be that salesy person that's on there selling everything and just like I don't know. I feel like I do a lot of interesting things, but me talking about my job doesn't seem that interesting to me. So for me, I'm like, who even cares about this? Like, why am I making this video on this? Why am I telling people that because this is boring?
Mm.
But
Hmm.
you have to learn to do that because that's just exposure, that's brand recognition for what you do. That's the more eyes you get in front of as your brand, the more referrals you're going to get, the more exposure you're going to get, the more people are going to think of you when they're thinking of whatever service or product you're doing. So if you're not constantly shoving it in their face, like they're not going to think about it. And I hadn't really done a whole lot of it because I don't know, I just had that same anxiety and insecurity of doing that everybody else had. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to have to do it and I probably get judged and be super cringy and I'm just going to figure it out. So I started with really in the beginning of the year was when I hit it hard because I remember sitting down and writing all my goals for the year. And one of them was learn to manifest, and one of them was to read a book every month for the year. Because I listen to podcasts all the time, but they're always like crime junkie ones and whatever. I'm like, why am I wasting my brain power? Like, I mean, I love it, but I'm like, I should be like listening to something that's teaching me a skill or, gonna help me
Yeah.
grow instead of, I mean, I still, don't get me wrong, I still love my crime podcast. Sometimes when I have to like turn my brain off for a minute because it like literally hurts, I'm like, oh, I'll just turn on a Dateline real quick. But so so I was like, I should start doing books and start learning something. So I was like, well, I might as well do one on manifesting since I have no idea what that is. And that's also on my list. That was kind of just like a random throwaway goal that was like, cool, what is this that everybody's talking about? I'll figure it out. So I'm like, well, I'll do my first book on that. So the first one I did was about like what manifesting is, but it was very focused on mindset and just like shifting your thought process, which really snowballed into a lot of other things. So I did that one. And then like the next few that I did like maybe 4 back to back that were all about branding and, social media marketing and mindset, just consistency, stuff like that. So they really all went together and I did it right in the beginning of the year. And then I just pushed through really far and it worked.
That's amazing. There's so much to be said about just diving in and going for it. And in a lot of ways, it sounds like you knew what you wanted the outcome to be, but you also, in some ways, detached from the actual outcome and just focused on what was going on right there in front of you, which was reading books and starting to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I also listened to crime podcasts. I was listening to one right before this meeting with you. Because I need to turn my brain off sometimes because I'm like, I love to learn. I love to get in there,
Yeah. And it's like
and
I'm
learn.
working overtime because I'm doing like I'll be writing, doing my paperwork or whatever I'm doing. It could be something super creative because I do have that creative mindset also, which is really great for my career, but I'm a lot of times working on things. So I'm working on things while I'm listening to a book that's teaching me something else. So I'm like I am multitasking my brain on every level right now because I'm thinking about what I'm doing, I'm thinking about what I'm learning, or I'm like driving to an appointment and remembering what I'm going to show and listening to I'm working double time or triple time all the time. So sometimes I'm like, okay, I need to just turn off for a minute.
Yeah, and on top of all that, you have kids
Yeah,
that
I have the
you're
kids like 90% of the time. I
managing a
have all the
household.
sports, I have all the school events, I got all the birthday parties, I have, everything with that, which they're
Yeah.
both have totally different schedules half the time and tons of homework. Yeah. And then the house, you got the laundry, you got why are we eating so much? I'm like, can we just stop eating? Like, this is the one thing that we just got to stop doing. Cause I just don't like grocery shopping and cooking. And then it's like, okay, I got to clean it up. And it's okay. Can we just,
This is getting in the way.
yes,
Eating
this is getting in the
food
way.
is getting in the way.
Yes. I feel like I'm doing all the meal prepping delivery things now. Cause I just am sick of, I like cooking. I'm just like, I'm
Yeah.
tired of grocery storing and cooking and then doing the dishes and whatever. I just throw it in the microwave. Even the dog food is like the delivery dog food now. I'm like, deliver everything. I cannot go to the store. Yes.
I do love that. I went through a little phase of not so much delivery, but we had something called Hello Fresh here. I don't know
Oh
if
yeah, yeah, we
you
have
have,
that.
and I was doing that, and then my kids were like, I don't like this. I'm not, and then they refused to eat it. So I'm like, fine, I'll cook you guys your mac and cheese or whatever, and
Mhm.
I'll do my own like Hello Fresh for myself. That
Yeah,
only lasted for
luckily
so
my kids
long.
are not picky. They'll eat anything, but I'm just like, I'm spending $700 a week at the grocery store for like, and then half the time I don't have time to cook it. So
Yeah.
I don't want to throw it
Well,
out.
right? It's a whole thing. It's like you want to eat all the things that you're buying, but then you're not having time to cook it, so then you're throwing it out and you're seeing the waste and
Yeah.
all the things.
I end up eating
Um,
an Uncrustable on the way to showings most of the time. That's my diet right now is Uncrustables.
just to go back, so reading books. I I also am a podcast listener, or I listen to podcasts a lot, and I do find value in those. But there is something to be said, I think, about having that book in front of you and sitting there and taking the time to read it as well. Because when we're
I'm an
listening to,
audiobook person.
oh, do you listen to the
Yeah.
audiobooks?
I haven't
Oh, okay.
opened a book this year, but I've listened to like 20.
Oh, well, that's amazing. I
Yeah.
do also enjoy. I flip between audiobooks and podcasts because I can't sit down and read a lot because it is challenging to sit there and have a quiet moment. At least if
I just
I'm
can't.
listening to a book with my kids in the background, I can kind of handle that.
Right. Yeah. If I'm sitting, like I'll fall asleep if I sit down.
Yeah.
But I also think that if I was reading it, I would be thinking about everything that I needed to do. Like, oh, I got to reply to that person or I got to send that over to that. And then I'm like, I just went 4 pages. I didn't even know what I just read because I'm thinking
Yeah.
about something else. But when I'm listening, I'm actually listening while I'm folding laundry or doing whatever I'm doing.
Well, and everybody processes information different, right? And
Mhm.
when we're listening and doing things, we process information differently. It's almost like we're attaching what we're listening to almost what we're doing all at the same time, but it's a different way of processing. So that's really interesting. Going back to manifesting, did you do any vision boarding, or just were you more into writing your goals down?
I didn't do a vision board where you like cut things out and like craft it. I didn't do that necessarily. I did more, obviously, when I wrote my goals in the beginning of the year, I didn't even know what manifesting was, but I've always liked goals. And so I did like different categories of goals. I did sales goals, business goals, marketing goals, personal goals. I don't remember if I said that one already. Fitness goals. And then I'll do like a couple for each one. And then most of them, I'll make sure they're pretty like trackable and measurable as far as, sales volume or finance savings goals, stuff like that. Those are easy to follow. But then the basic ones that were just like, work on this at some point this year. That was the manifesting one that I just randomly threw in there, and the book one. And when I was reading the books, it wasn't necessarily write down your goals, but it was more like journaling the manifesting. And in a lot of the books, they'll say, this is how you do it. So get out a paper and pens and write whatever it is you're looking for in this tense and write it like this and, or make a list. But it wasn't necessarily me like cutting out things that I want. It was just being specific in my words for what I want, which is huge because I feel like there's so many times when like somebody says, "Hey, what do you want?" And most people don't even know. And I think that's the hardest place for people to start is they don't know what they want. And I'm still figuring that out. I don't know how I'm going to get where I'm going. But I mean, I know what I want now and I know the direction that I'm going, but I don't really know what the end goal. I'm not super specific on that yet, but a lot of people they don't want what they have now, but they don't know what they want. And I think that's a really hard place to start So breaking
Yeah.
that down like really helps you focus on, okay, this is what I want. I guess this is what I want. So how do I get there? And then learning how to make yourself capable of getting to that position.
Hmm. Well, and that I think it's interesting. Years and years ago, I remember going to see a medium, kind of like a psychic, but
I
anyways.
love
And
it. Man,
she asked me the same thing. She was like, "Well, what do you want?" And it
such a
was
loaded
this,
question.
right? And the simplest question, but
The hardest question.
I was speechless. I don't know. Like I think about what I want all the time, but now you're asking me and you're telling me that I need to be specific. I don't know.
Hmm.
And then she said, most people don't can't answer what they want, but they can tell you what they don't want. So start
Right.
there. So I kind of like reverse engineered the whole entire thing, started with what I don't want, which led me to then what I wanted.
Yes.
And it was more in line with that particular session than anything and that like what we were focusing on for the whole thing. But it always that idea of most people not knowing what they want, but they know what they don't want, that stuck
Mhm.
with me and I do often think about that for myself sometimes when I'm sitting and spiraling on things. I'll think, okay, Megan, if you can't answer the question of what you want out of this, can you answer the opposite?
What do you
Can
not
you
want?
answer what you don't want? Yeah. And just start there. Um, and manifesting, I haven't done a deep dive into manifesting per se, but I think it's something that a lot of people do practice without even realizing that they're
Hmm.
doing it. And I'm a vision board person. I love doing the crafty, cut things out. Sometimes I'll host like a workshop where I live and a bunch of us girls
Fun.
get together and it's just something fun to do. But when I look back at my vision boards over the years and like one of the first ones I did, I realized that each year, even if I don't succeed that particular year on reaching that goal, each year I've either re added it without even noticing that I've added that whole thing again, a picture or a word, or I've looked back and it's like one year, I think I put a picture of a horse and in my mind, when I put the picture of the horse on there, it like the wind was flowing through the horse's hair. It was running very fast and furious. And I just remember this idea of that horse looking like they felt freedom.
Hmm.
And then that year, I took my kids on a trail ride. And it wasn't until I looked back at previous vision boards did I realize that horse meant something different.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it was like I
Yes.
manifested it, but in the moment of putting it on my vision board, it meant something. And then looking back, I was able to see that it actually meant something else for me. So I'm
Yeah,
curious.
that definitely happened with some of my goals this year because I remember looking at them in like July or June or something like 6 months in and I'm like I had so many goals on that. Like there was like at least 30 goals written down and I'm like I don't know how I'm getting these like knocked out. Like I really was like knocking a lot of them out. Like they were really just like, okay, the sales goal, the finance goal. There was like three or four that I was like, I really have to hit these. But then there was a lot of other ones that I was like, I just want to think about these and start working on them, but we'll just see as we go, right? Like halfway through the year, I'm like, I am like so good on a lot of these. Like I'm almost there with most of these goals. But then there was like maybe three or four that I'm like, oops, I forgot about that one. But then by October, those ones randomly like fell into place too. It was like I wasn't even thinking about, oh, I gotta do this. I have to save, this much because it's almost the end of the year and I didn't hit my savings goal yet or whatever it was. And then it was like I'd had this huge sale and I'm like, oh, now I hit it. Like I didn't even have to think about it. Do you know what I'm saying? But there were
Yeah.
some things on my list. Like one of them, I put, I think I wrote, I have two investment projects. And in my head, when I wrote them, I was assuming it was going to be real estate related, own a rental property or an Airbnb or invest in something real estate wise. But I definitely didn't do any of that. But I did because I feel like I built so much. I had spent so much money in my business to grow it with everything that I was doing. But then I kind of realized, oh, this kind of was an investment project. It wasn't the one that I had in mind. It was a different one. But it totally counts as an investment project and it worked for what I needed it to work for. It just wasn't what I had in mind at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
So there were
Well,
two or three totally different investment projects that were just not have anything to do with real estate. I mean, they definitely had stuff to do with my career, but they were not me being somebody's landlord or any of that, which is what
right.
I assumed it would be.
So do you feel like you do feel like you completed that goal? Like it, like once you looked back and realized it wasn't exactly what you had written out or what you meant for it to be, but you're like, ah, yes, I did
Yes.
actually complete that goal.
Sorry, my dog is always on the call with me.
Oh, that's totally fine.
He's
I
in a
have a
chair
dog.
too.
Oh,
Um,
that's so cute.
yes, I think it definitely is. It for sure was an investment project, and it was for sure the right one because one of the ones that I'm counting as an investment project was a coaching program that I joined, and it was a huge investment, but it was actually one of the authors of a book that I had read earlier in the year. And I'd been following her for months about, just how to grow my business and just like listening to her podcast and her book and everything. And I've been implementing a lot of the things that she had said that had been really working, but they weren't very specific to like my industry. I had to like figure that out on my own. And so then I ended up joining a coaching program, which has been amazing. But I would have never joined that. Like, I am not the type of person that I don't want to commit to something. I don't want to spend a ton of money on something. Like, what if it's just one of those, I just was like, I don't want to, I'm not one of those people that is had by a random sale ever. And I'm like, I think I'm supposed to do this. And I didn't talk to anybody about it because I didn't want their opinions. Because forever I've been listening to everybody's opinions and I knew they were just going to say, oh no, they just want your money. It's just a money grab. It's just whatever. It's, you know what I mean? And I was like, no, like, I don't want to talk to anybody about this. I want to make this decision for myself. And it was definitely the right decision. So that was like one thing that I did an investment on, and I made my money back like within the first month because of everything that I had learned on it. So I knew, and it's a full year, so I'm still working on it. I'm still invested in it, but that is not what I would look at as an investment, but I really was investing in my business. I was just investing in a different way. So that I counted as one, just not one that I obviously expected. And then I also am just doing a lot more, which I mean, there it is an investment financially, but it's I'm invested more in different like avenues of business that are not necessarily real estate focused. Like I'm doing a lot of brand collabs with other businesses. I'm a host for a TV show now that's on lifestyle and real estate. So it's not selling sunset, but so I'm doing that. And so that's a huge like time investment also. And I'm doing like affiliate marketing on social media through like LTK and stuff. So I'm really cross marketing so many different things, but it's all part of like my brand and of who I am. And even though it's not necessarily what somebody would look at on paper as an investment, it is an investment of time and money. So those have been, so it's really three if you put them all together.
I love that. And the thing is that when you invest in yourself, right?
Yeah, I
Like
invested
the
in myself,
coaching.
which is weird. That's not my thing. I feel like I'm always the person that puts myself last, does everything for everybody,
Mhm.
but people pleaser for 1,000 years. And I was like, no, I need to bet on myself because I'm the person that's going to get me here instead of handing my money to someone that's maybe going to, run it or run the investment. And then I'm dependent on them. Which obviously
Yeah.
I'll do some. I'm not that distrusting of people, but I had to like really, and I mean, especially coming out of the divorce, like I had to liquidate my whole life. So it's like I had to start over. So even like the thought of having an investment project is like terrifying to someone that invested into a restaurant and lost everything.
Well, and I think that's something to be said too, that one of the things that I loved reading that you wrote, and it's so simple, failing isn't final.
Mhm.
Like when I was reviewing because every when people answer the questions on my application, it goes into a spreadsheet. And it was like in that little box, those three words were the first thing that I could see out of all the everything else that you wrote. And I was like I said it to myself a couple of times, and I'm like, this is so true. It's so simple, but so profound all at the same time. Or like some people will say, fail forward, for instance, or anything like that. And going through everything that you went through, losing everything, and starting all over is the most scary thing, I think, which does hold a lot of people back from investing further into themselves, however that looks, whether
Mhm.
it's coaching, finding a coach, because even sometimes that, what if I invest into myself and they have these expectations of what that's going to look like for the byproduct of what that is in their business. But sometimes when we don't get what we expect out of it right away, we assume that that's some kind of a failure. But
Mhm.
failure isn't final, because all the little bits and pieces that we learn along the way, all those little bits of information that you were listening to in your audiobooks are going to help for years to come. I'm sure, and I know from in my experience, even just from that one meeting with that medium that I met with, and just the fact that she said that one little thing, that's
Mhm.
one thing that has stuck with me for years to come. So there's little bits and pieces that will stick and still continue to actually help us each
Right.
day.
Each step of the way. Yeah. I think the
Yeah.
failure isn't final. Like at a church that I've been going to for a long time, the pastor always says that, oh, did you get it? The pastor
Good
always
thing.
says failure isn't final is in a, I don't remember the exact way that he said it, but in a way of forgiveness. But I put that into my own words and in my own way with business and with, I mean, just the direction of your life. It's like, but I also think when you failed that hard, it's like, what am I going to fail at that's going to trump that one? Do you know what I'm saying? There's nothing
Totally.
I could fail. I mean, I'm sure there probably is, but I'm not trying at anything where I'm going to top what I just failed. And nothing is going to
Mm-hmm.
hurt as bad as that failure did because my kids were involved in the divorce also. Like nothing is going to hurt as bad as that one did. And I also think I realized how strong I was. So it was like, okay, if I'm betting on myself to get me to where I need to go, if I fail, that's on me. I can't blame anybody else. I can't be mad at anybody else. I can just tell myself, well, I guess I didn't try that hard. I should have worked harder. That's on me. I can't blame anybody else. I can't regret that. I can only tell myself I didn't work for it. But I also think I have a very motivated mindset just in general, and I'll make myself do it. So I know if I have a bad day, the next day I'm going to get up and I'm going to be like, I'm not doing that again today because that's not going to get me where I'm going. I've cried enough about this. Get up and move on. And I'm the only person that can make me do that. But and sorry, one more thing on the failure thing. I think a lot of times when we fail, we act like it's like Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt broke up or whatever. It's we forget about that after a week. Nobody is like still thinking about my failure from however long ago. Like other things happen. It might be huge news for like a minute. I mean, I'm sure there's certain things that like you will feel like you're walking around with that on your tattooed on your forehead for a long time. But like for me, maybe I'm sure everybody else has failed. They might not have had as public as a failure as I did or whatever it might be, but I don't know who's thinking of that now, years later. Like it's so old news that like sometimes people are like, I totally forgot that even happened. I mean, not
Yeah.
yet with me. Mine's still pretty big. But you know
Oh,
what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of times where it's, oh my gosh, I totally forgot how huge that was.
yeah. Well, I think that is something to be said too, is that we often put so much weight on what other people are thinking,
Hmm.
and the judgment that other people might have of our choices or what we've done, which either leads us to not taking certain risks, which leads us to not investing into ourselves, because, and like how you said, you didn't even tell anyone because you didn't want their opinions. And
Yeah,
sometimes that,
that was a
I
huge
think,
takeaway.
that is sometimes one of the most sacred things that we can do for ourselves, is to just make some choices. And even if it does not turn out the way we want it to, we got through it. We're
Mhm.
stronger at the end of it. We can start to trust ourselves more for the next choice and the next risky decision that we might want to make.
Yeah, that was a huge takeaway from my whole years of divorce in the restaurant. Because I was constantly like trying to, I mean, a divorce is so messy too that it's like families involved, friends that are involved. So it's like every single thing I did, I was trying to like not hurt somebody in it. But then like this person would be mad because I didn't do it their way. And this person was like, you have to do it this way or they're going to be upset with me. And it's like, this is my life. Why am I making the decisions based on not hurting somebody else's feelings about what I am going to do? Especially when I'm the one that has to deal with the repercussions of it. I have to deal with the hundreds of thousands of dollars that I threw away and lost, and, you know, dealing with court things and dealing with the corporate stuff. And like, why am I listening to people's opinions that are not going to be taking a whipping from like the backlash of all this except myself? So it was like I was so worried about hurting everybody and like hurting people's feelings. And it was like, why am I worried about anybody else's feelings right now when I'm the one that's literally waking up every day and taking a bullet to the face, like every morning from every angle? Like it was like the restaurant, the divorce, the family, the friends, like every single thing, just every single day, just wake up and get hit in the face every morning.
Where did you, during all that, and this is just a total aside question, but during all that, where did you have the most support?
I feel like that's a hard question because every side was so manipulated that I didn't really have much support. I mean, obviously, like later in it, I started dating somebody and he was obviously, I'm still dating him, but he was supportive with the restaurant and stuff like that because the divorce took 2 years. So, I mean, he was as supportive as he could be once I got to that point. But in the beginning, I really didn't have anybody. I had like my cousin who she lives far away, but I mean, she'll always be on my side. And my sister-in-law was always on my side. But my family, I was the first person to get divorced. So I felt like I was coming out of the closet to them with this huge, and they were very traditional. No, you have to work it out. We don't care if you're miserable, whatever. But then it was like they were manipulated with the story from other ends, and my closest friends were also. So it was like everybody had all their hands in, and it was such a mess in the most like manipulative way, where I was like, I'm not trying to manipulate anybody. I'm just trying to survive this and do my best to not hurt anybody's feelings and not ruin anybody's lives. But I'm also like, I'm not trying to screw anybody over in this. So that was hard because I just felt like it was such a mess, and it was hard to be telling people the real truth when they had heard. So it was just so mixed up and manipulated, and it was just hard to be like, is this where we're at?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well,
but
and
I
that
mean,
makes,
I had so much going on that I didn't even have time to think about support because I was like, I have to get up and go to this restaurant and get robbed at gunpoint. You know what I
oh my
mean? So it was like, that was such a, I mean, it wasn't like the top priority for me I had so many things I had to think about every day.
Yeah, so you were just survival mode, day in
Mhm.
and day out, just surviving
Yeah.
so the manifesting and the choices to kind of start and change, did that happen at the tail end of all this, or is that when you started to realize that you were really alone? And is that kind of where a lot of that came from?
Yes, I think so. I just think it took a while for me to like regroup. Like I think it took me longer to
Hmm.
recover in a way than I realized. I didn't realize I was recovering or like in a recovery phase. But I think after that all like, you know, settled, my relationship with my family is obviously great now. It just was hard at the time because it was so messy. But I think I just needed like a year or two to realize, okay, I lived, I'm out. Where am I going? How am I getting there? Let me like breathe for a minute. And through that, I think I was just kind of learning more and seeing things through a different light from being in that position. I think it makes me look at other things differently because it's okay, I wouldn't do that after after everything that I've seen. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like
Yeah.
it had me kind of like it shifted the way that I looked at a lot of things. And then but I didn't really realize it at the time. So I think it took like a year or so for me to realize, okay, why do I think differently now? Why do I see things differently now? Where do I want to be? How do I think I'm going to get there? Obviously, the ideal way of getting there would be like, oh, let me just find somebody that has a great career and I don't have to worry about anything and I'll just stay. You know what I'm saying? But then I'm just putting myself in another position to be let down by somebody or be, you know, taken advantage of. I don't want to ever be in a position that I can't make a decision for myself and I can't support myself to get out of, especially with my kids, because I am the sole person for them. So like if I'm not good, if I don't have a safety net, they don't have a safety net. If I don't have a retirement, they don't have a retirement. If something happens to me, they're screwed. So regardless of
Mhm.
who is involved or who's going to give me an opportunity, I can't rely on them. And I don't want to, in the sense of feeling like I have to stay in a situation because I can't do it on my own. I think that was the biggest one for me is I don't want to, and I've had so many people reach out to me about divorce. Like, and I'm not here advocating for divorce, but people who have had questions and they're like, well, I literally can't get out of this super toxic relationship because I can't do it on my own because of the position they're in. And I never want to be in that position, whether it's work related, like if it's a
Mhm.
boss or if it's a husband or whatever the relationship is, I never want to be somewhere where I'm stuck. So I think that's where I really had the shift of, okay, well, I have to change every single thing about where I'm going and how I'm going to get there, and I need to learn how to do that.
Mhm. Well, and I think that's for a lot of people, whatever the shackles represent, whether it's being in a toxic relationship with your spouse, with like a business partner, or just in general of feeling stuck, when we take control over the things that we have control over and we do it on a regular basis, like that is something for me, anyways, too, that over the last little while. And I would say grief seems to be like that one thing, transitional phases in our lives, whether it's related to grief or divorce or losing someone that we love or anything, losing a job, whatever it looks like, those seems to be the sort of moments for people to really start questioning things of how they got to where they got to,
Mhm.
and then really looking at their lives with a magnifying glass and being like, okay, there's definitely some changes that I need to make. And I think for some people, they do stay stuck in sort of like a helplessness state. And some people do take charge and take action. And you definitely sound like you were able to regroup, take a breather. You said decompress. I thought that was a great way to even explain it because it does, it takes time, it takes months really to come out of recovery and like doing a full recovery. We don't know that we're going through it, but I think that's a great way
Right.
to look at it.
Yeah, I feel like you
Um,
don't see it happening, and then you're like, you start afterwards, you look back and you're like, oh, that's what happened. And then you can tell,
yeah.
because I didn't come right out of it and be like, these are the lessons I learned. Like, I didn't know, like, I was just like, you come out of it and you're like hung over for a while, like trying to sort out your feelings. I don't even know why I feel this way. I don't know why I respond this way now to whatever is triggering to me. And then it's like, you slowly start to put the pieces together, which is helpful for me, especially from listening to audiobooks and podcasts. I feel like a lot of times people will tell their story and it's like, oh, that totally makes sense with mine, even though it's completely different. And it kind of helps you piece together why you feel the way you feel or why you act and respond now differently.
Well, and that's what I love about storytelling is everybody's different perspective. We can talk about the same sort of things over and over. Label it trauma, grief, whatever you want. But everybody has a different way of telling it, and everybody has a different way of relating to it. So that's what I love about sharing different people's stories, different from different backgrounds and different ways of putting it into perspective. Because, like you said, you're looking at everything from a different lens now.
Mhm.
Um, and it's always easier to put things like the saying, hindsight is 2020, and it really is. So yeah, coming out of something and being like, okay, well, I'm gonna do this now and this now because I don't want to be there. That's not necessarily how you're driving your day. You're driving your day based on getting to a place that you want to be, looking at it from a different positive lens than just from that negative aspect all the time.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
I just want to go back to one sort of, we are talking about it, but the way that I want to talk about it a little bit more with you is investing in yourself. So you obviously have invested in yourself in a few different ways. There was a goal about investing, and you were talking about investing but you ended up doing it in a way that you didn't expect. Now, do you make it um, sort of part of your goals in general to invest in yourself as a way to also have the byproduct for your business and your brand?
I mean, I think they go hand in hand. I think the more you invest in yourself, the more solid you are. And the more solid you are, the more capable you are to do whatever the next thing is. So I definitely think that they go together. And yeah, for me, it's especially just because it's worked out. I mean, there's definitely been days where I'm like, what am I doing? You know what I mean? Like, why am I doing this? This is never going to work out. But I mean, everybody has those moments and you just have to get over it and then just keep going. And that's been one thing that I feel like I constantly heard in my head for like the first 6 months of the year was like, don't quit, just keep going. It's going to come. It's coming. It's coming. And it really did. So I feel like everything kind of hit, all my hard work really started hitting maybe like 6 months after.
Yeah. Well, I think the don't quit, I know for even for me, sometimes I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this?
Mhm.
Is this really am I actually on the trajectory of what I set out to be, or have I caught some shiny thing off to the left and decided to follow that instead?
Right.
Um, but the don't quit, and keep going through it. And like you said, just wake up. Also, the idea where you might have a bad day or an off day, but the next day you realize that's not going to get you to where you want to go, and move the needle that day. It's just all about moving the needle just a little bit
Yep.
more forward.
1% every day, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at my notes. Do you want to list some of the audiobooks that would help some of our listeners as far as manifesting and learning different things to move the
Yeah.
needle forward?
I love talking about books, which is weird because I like really didn't do books until this year. I mean, I did like some Bible study stuff with church like years ago, but I haven't done books really. I just really knocked them out this year, but they've been so helpful. So now I like love doing them. I started out, I guess, with the manifesting. Now, manifesting can be very like woo woo if that's not your thing. So, because I mean, I came from obviously a Christian background. And so when you come into like, yeah, like the medium stuff and like the spirit stuff and the universe things, it's like they still go together. But I think a lot of people think it's like you're one or you're the other. You can't be both. So you have to be open-minded to those just because they are kind of out there. Tweak it so it works for you. If you want to make it a Christian, you can use it and just incorporate it into Christianity or whatever religion that you want to use it for. But I started with Super Attractor by Gabby Bernstein. And that one really broke down a lot of the manifesting and how to stop negative thoughts in a very practical way. So that one was really good. And then I did Jen Gottlieb's Be Seen, which that one's all about really cracking into branding. And there's some mindset stuff in that one too, but it's definitely a lot of branding of yourself and kind of like where you're going on your journey and how to get there. So that's really good. She has a really good podcast also. It's called The Jen Gottlieb Show, that one. And then there's more mindset stuff on her podcast. And then I loved The Alter Ego Effect. That one was by Todd Herman. And that one wasn't really manifesting, but that was a lot of mindset stuff where he has you create like an alter ego, like a totally different character that you want to be, that you don't feel like you are at all. Like, say you feel like, I'm not strong enough for that. I'm not smart enough for that. I'm not good enough for that. They have you create basically like a persona that is that. Or you can choose a character that you like. I don't know, Beyonce and or whoever. And I want to channel my inner Beyonce, even if I'm 0% like Beyonce, but she's just like a badass and I want to be like that. He has you figure out how to like create this persona or this Beyonce or whoever it is, and how to shift into that in certain situations. So if you're struggling in a relationship or a career or whatever it is that you feel inferior in, or whatever type of relationship or scenario you feel inferior, insecure in, and he has you basically just act like the other persona that you want to be. And eventually it becomes natural and it's not so paralyzing to us in those situations. That one was really good and super interesting. And then I have so many. I did so many of these this year. But I loved, sorry, I'll just do one more. I loved Into the Magic Shop by James Doty. And that one he's a neurosurgeon and he talks about how he learned how to manifest as a kid. Have you read that one?
Okay. No, but sorry. No, someone else just sent me, one of my friends sent me a podcast about a neurosurgeon who also talks about manifesting. I don't know if it's the same person. I'm going to have to look that up to see if he was a guest on the Mel Robbins podcast. I'll have to check the names, but it was, yeah, interesting to have science like neurosurgeon also
Oh
talk
yeah.
about something spiritual, right?
It was,
So,
but it was also like he talks about this, which I am 0% science, okay? Like I sell houses and talk to people for a living. I don't do science at all. So
yeah.
I'm like, what if I can't understand what he's saying? But he talks about like how the heart and the brain are connected. And a lot of times our heart sends our brain false messages and then we react to things differently. So say you say something that hurts my feelings, that hurts my heart. My heart tells my brain that I'm super upset and I'm mad at you now. And then I react mad at you. And then my brain constantly tells myself that like I am whatever it is you told me. He talks about how to disconnect that. So if something happens and it's a feeling, we don't have to respond to the, like we can kind of reject the feeling. So he talks about disconnecting that connection there, but he also talks about manifesting and how it works like with your brain, but like from way back when I don't even know what manifesting was. Cause I mean, he's older and he was like talking about how he was learning this when he was like 8 years old, which had to have been in like, I don't remember, maybe the 70s. So it's like it was around back then. And but he talks about how it's affected his entire life. It wasn't just like, oh, I learned it in that store. Like he has this crazy life story that he talks about how it keeps going back to when he learned that. And that one was really interesting.
I think that's right. I think that's the one that I just recently listened to, and I was like, I need to listen to this again, and I need to listen to his story in more depth. And if I remember right, it wasn't like a magic shop that he had walked into and he kind of went to regularly or something, and he met
Yeah.
some woman that was working there,
Yes, this is the
and
book. He talks about how
she
he goes
asked him
into.
to like keep coming back in or something.
Yes,
Um, that's about all the detail I can remember right this very moment. But
yes, that's the book.
um,
That is the book.
yeah, yeah,
It's
I'll have to
really good.
read that one in more depth for sure. But again, like, and that's the thing. I think we are constantly manifesting, but when we don't necessarily label it all the
Mhm.
time. And when we do put a label on it, some people will retract because it does seem a bit woo woo or this or that, or
Yeah.
people get skeptical about manifesting. But like I said, even in my experience, even just putting these visuals, whether it's a word that I've cut out and put on my vision board, or a picture of a horse, or anything, as when we start to think about these things and regularly, like I think I put that horse on. I'd been watching the show Heartland. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's a
Yeah.
Canadian, but
I think I have.
it's a great show about horses, but also family in general. And it just, yeah, there was something about it, something about the show, something about horses. There's always something about horses. I love horses, but I don't get around them as much as I want to. And then that manifested one day into me being like, just super random. Kids, we're going on a trail ride today. Like, we're just going to do it. There's no better time. Why wait? Let's just find somewhere locally. And we did it. And yeah, ever since then, I look at that picture that I put on my vision board and I just think about the feeling that I had because it matched the feeling of when I picked that picture. It was like a
Right.
feeling of freedom when I was sitting on the horse, even though I wasn't like running at full speed with this horse. That's very
With the wind in
scary
your hair.
with the wind in my hair. But the feeling I had of being up on that horse and just even walking with the horse felt free. And
Mhm.
that's what matched that image, right? So there's a manifestation of feeling. It's not always going to be exactly what we picture it to be, right? When we start to manifest things,
Mhm.
but the realization that that's what we needed, and
Right.
how you were even talking about this coaching, that you just knew that it was what you wanted to do. And after, like, you're still going through it, but it's brought you something that you knew that you needed. And it's that trust that you can make choices for yourself that.
Right. I think for me too, with the coaching program, that was the first thing that I did for myself, and it's something that's different than what everybody else was doing. I mean, a lot of agents will hire real estate coaches, but it's not a real estate coach. It's like an entrepreneur coach. So it's like it's not. I'm not with other agents. I'm with other entrepreneurs, which is what I wanted. I didn't want to be learning all the same things that every other agent was learning. I wanted to be learning different things. But I also think that because I started real estate with my mom and I started under her, I feel like everything I did was like alongside of her. And it was like, okay, she's been doing it longer. So I was kind of like the next level of her. And then my boyfriend that I've been with, he's also an agent and he works in a different area than I do, but we do cross a lot. So I feel like I was either ever helping him or helping her. And I was like under kind of both of them. But I was like, okay, I'm still doing a lot, but it just, I felt like it was kind of like I was not my own person, even though we still help each other out and we still work together and everything. I was like, I want to do this my way, not necessarily always just being like I feel like I was the girl, the cheerleader that's on the ground that's always holding the other person up. You know what I mean? And it was like, okay, I want to do what I want to do and what I think is right for this career. And like I'll share my info with you guys if like I'll tell you what's working for me. I'm not like here to just be secretive and do it my way, but I wanted to do it a different way and I wanted it to feel more like me. And I think when I
Mm,
first started it, I didn't realize that I was going to feel that. But I do think for years I've been like in the shadows of them who were doing really well and I was just like supporting them even though I was working and I was doing my same stuff, but it was like now I kind of like came out from the shadows and I'm doing my own thing even though it's still alongside them. It's my own way. I don't know if that makes sense.
oh, it does. So it makes so much sense. And I think that's, for me, when I have that feeling of like, okay, I really want to do something, but doing it that particular way doesn't feel authentic to me.
Right.
If I follow along step by step doing it that way, I'm not as invested, for one. And if I'm not as invested, I'm going to be detached from it, and I'm not going to do it authentically and genuine. And I think it sounds to me like what you're doing, you're doing something for yourself, which I think naturally, just doing that and having that as like the foundation of your choice, you're going to do it genuinely and authentically no matter what. So when you do work with your boyfriend or your mom or anybody else, all these things that you're learning are going to show up and just add that much more value because you're
Right.
doing it genuinely and authentically, and everyone else is going to feel that energy. It's funny that I haven't actually used that word energy this whole entire time we've been talking, because I feel like
Mhm.
it's been like a word that I've been using so much lately. But going back to woo woo or spirituality or anything, everything is energy.
Mhm.
And once we start tapping into what feels genuine and authentic to ourselves, I feel like it just
Expand.
manifests it on its
Right.
own.
And I do think also like going along with me constantly like asking for people's opinions on things when I was struggling and just needed help, I feel like it really put me in a state, like a mindset of like needing to be constantly validated. Like I never was like, please tell me that I'm thinking this right. Am I thinking this right? Am I crazy? Is this wrong? Am I going to make the wrong choice? I was so scared of making the wrong decision. And so then I think also like working under them and like alongside, I was kind of doing things their way instead of, well, I think we should do it this way, but we'll do it your way because like we've always done it that way. Where now that I'm doing things my way and I'm learning different things, I mean, the market's shifted so much. It's like, I feel like I have a lot of really good ideas. I might not do them very like traditional, but that's what's making it so much better. That's what's expanding and building so quickly is because I'm not doing things the traditional way. I'm doing it my own weird creative way that's caught on really fast. So it's like just I'm not undermining my own intelligence, my own experience, my own creativity and possibility, I'm really just doing it all and it's working, and I don't feel so, oh, I have to ask and make sure that this, I should do it this way. It's like I'm just going to do it that way because that's what my mind told me to do. And again, it's not like I have no ill will towards anybody. I'm not like, it's all just like, oh, this is a weird, random, crazy idea I had, but I feel like we should do it. And then it randomly works out.
I love that. Well, and the word undermine. I think that's a perfect way to explain it, because when you start doing things and tapping into that, knowing that what you're choosing to do or how you're showing up, when you
Mhm.
start tapping into that knowing, like it just will come naturally and you're not going to second guess it. And other people won't second guess you either.
Right. Because I'm not doing any, I feel like I'm not living by anybody else's rules right now, which I mean is easier in my career because I don't have a boss and there's not like, I mean, obviously there's real estate rules, but they're like, you do it your way, you know? So I think it's easier to implement that in my career, but it is very freeing to know that I can do whatever on my own terms in my own way. Because I think that is what's really built my business this past year. And like, I mean, I've over doubled this year what I did last year, and I've already gone like 3 million over what my sales goal was this year. So it's like me just doing what I think is right or what I feel like doing is really helping me. But I've never done it, I feel like, until this year, been like, I just feel like it was constantly, well, I don't want to screw that up. You know what I mean? So I'll just stay in this little box of safety and like do it this way because this is the way that's always worked and this is the way that everybody says you should do it. But when you, especially if you have a creative mind like I do, it's let's just try this way. And I mean, you have to have the right clients to be able to try the weird things. But maybe that's what I manifested this year, the right clients to let me do the weird things. But I mean, it really worked. And it makes it so much more fun and it's so much more rewarding to be like, I did this. I didn't do this under somebody. I did this on my own, my way, and like it's been working out. So it is definitely a huge shift from a couple years ago for sure.
I love that, because that just also, how you just expressed all that and explained that, again, sort of using that energy is everything. You're putting the energy out there, you're manifesting, whether it's bringing the right clients to you, making those weird choices and
Yep.
asking people to join in, whatever it is, it's clearly something exciting for you to do and how you're choosing to do it. And I think that is a message that is great for anybody to hear and to listen to, that when we start doing things the way that we want to do them and just make that choice to do it and just let
Mhm.
go and just do the thing, bring out the creativity and enjoy it.
Yeah. I mean, it's been fun. I've been working like crazy, but it's been working out and it is fun to like look back and see all the little changes and steps along the way that I never would have thought earlier this year like I was going to get. Like I did not think we were going to be doing a TV show. I did not think I was going to be doing all these brand collabs. Like I could have never looked into the future 8 months ago and saw any of this. And I feel like that's the best part. But I had to
Mm.
learn a lot to get here. Like it definitely started with learning. I think a lot of times once we're, graduated from college or whatever, we're like, okay, I'm done learning for the rest of my life. No, learn something new. If you're not going to get where you're going from whatever you're doing, learn how to get there. Like there's so much you can do to take little steps in that direction if you think you're not capable of getting there.
Yeah, well, I think that is a great message to end on. Thank you
Mhm.
so much, Brittany, for
Yeah,
joining
thanks
me
for having me.
today, all the way from Michigan. And I'm going to definitely be looking at this show. So if you have a link to any aired episodes, if you want to email that and I can put it in the show
Yeah.
notes, or any kind of link that I can share with the audience, that would be fantastic.
There's
And
a
I'll be
lot
sure to
on Instagram too.
on Instagram. Okay,
Yep.
perfect. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Of course. Thanks for having me. It was fun.
Okay, take care. Thank you for joining this week's episode of Anchor Your Dreams.
I hope you enjoyed today's conversation as much as I did. A big thank you to our incredible guest for sharing their wisdom and insights. If you resonated with today's episode and want to explore more about turning your dreams into reality, be sure to subscribe to the podcast. We have a lineup of amazing guests and valuable content coming your way. Don't forget to connect with us on social media. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook. Share your thoughts, insights, and your own journey using the hashtag #AnchorYourDreams. Head over to our website at meganmcquillan.com in the podcast section, where you'll find the show notes, resources, and information about upcoming episodes. Before we wrap up, I want to express my gratitude to each and every one of you. Your support means the world to me, and I'm thrilled to be on this journey with you. Remember, anchored dreams become goals. Anchored goals become results. Until next time, dream big and stay anchored.